we are recording. So does anybody have any specific questions? Because normally what I try to do is, on Tuesday, kind of give you guys a little bit of an activity that's just discussing how to approach these types of problems. And then on Thursday, like I said, we won't have the time usually to do all of them. There's 16 here. So if we just try to work through the list, we're not going to make it. But if there are some that you all saw and believed were tricky or important, then I'd be happy to start with those. Otherwise, we can just pick a few random ones. No suggestions? Okay. So let me see. Well, okay. These should be pretty straightforward. So let's start with these. So 5, 6, 7, and 8 are all pretty tightly connected. So we'll answer them together. And let's see. Arslan?
Yeah, here.
Yeah. So why don't you go ahead and be in charge of 5, and Christy Lau. Okay.
Yeah.
Christy? Yeah. So why don't you be in charge of 6?
Okay.
And Devara, I want you be in charge of 7.
Okay.
And Emilio, you can be in charge of 8.
Sounds good.
Okay. And then we'll have Joshua Short. You there? Joshua?
Yes.
You can be backup for 5. Okay.
Okay.
And Michael Barbie, backup for 6. Are you there, Michael Barbie? Michael Barbie. Okay. How about then we do Michael Left? Michael Left?
Hey, Professor.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Sorry about that.
Michael,
I left. I had to leave my computer for a second. What did you need?
It happens to me occasionally too. So you're backup for 6, number 6.
Okay.
Okay, and then Miles. Miles Gablick. Miles.
Yes, I'm here, sir. Sorry, I was floating with my dog.
Okay, everybody. Okay, Mike, Miles, you're backup for 7. Okay, which means you got to do it too. So do 7. All right, Miles. And then
Yes, sir.
Okay, and Nutanicha.
Yes.
You're backup for 8.
Okay.
Okay, so I will give you all about 5 minutes. So it's, yeah, 5 minutes. And so our number 5 group, you were our first. Was it, who did we have? Arslan? Was it you?
Yeah. Yeah, I was
So
part of it.
yeah, so, and then do you remember who your partner was? Was it
Oh, that'd be me, Josh.
Josh? Yeah. So how are you guys doing?
I'm actually a bit confused.
I am as well. I have the equilibrium price, equilibrium quantity.
Well,
It's
that's
everything
always a good
after
place.
that.
That's
unsure
a
of.
good place to start. Yeah, well, I would hope you'd be able to do the equilibrium. So let's distinguish here between two concepts. One is and I'll just draw it back on the diagram, but again, we kind of want to take this off of our diagram as soon as we can. So just because it's like distracting, right? We have this shifted supply curve. So we have 2 equilibria here. I'll try to move it back so it looks nice. Okay. So I'll use purple. So there's equilibrium number 1. That's our original competitive equilibrium there in purple. And then I'll do this one in orange. So you can see those, right? Arslan?
Yeah, we can.
Joshua? So you need both of them. So you said you had one, and so I also will distinguish, because I'll say that we would refer to the purple one as the market equilibrium or the competitive equilibrium, and probably be a good label for it. And then the orange one would be the after-tax equilibrium. Now, I'll just say something in passing. Just it's important in terms of distinguishing these two, but in truth, right, the after-tax equilibrium isn't a true competitive equilibrium. Okay, because it's the market operating under something other than the price mechanism. It's the price mechanism plus a tax, right? And so the reason why we kind of start here is, remember, and it'll kind of be hard unless you're intentional about this, to remember what our baseline is, or what our sort of North Star, where we get all of our orientation in microeconomics. And that's the first fundamental welfare theorem. First fundamental welfare theorem, if you're thinking about getting a tattoo this semester, that's a pretty good one, FFWT, right? Someplace, because the first fundamental welfare theorem always tells us that total surplus is going to be maximized at a competitive equilibrium, and this is not a competitive equilibrium. So we know total surplus isn't going to be maximized. We know we're going to have deadweight losses. So that's kind of where we're going. This is our first, the way that we normally proceed with the first fundamental welfare theorem is we demonstrate it, and we've done that. And then the next step is to show that when we violate it, we don't end up with maximum total surplus. And, you know, that's a general statement. So, and I say it's general because it doesn't always apply. There are a few exceptions, but I digress. Let's focus on the problem here. So we have our purple equilibrium, and that's the one you were probably talking about, Arslan, right? That's the one that you calculated.
Correct. Yeah.
Right? But did you calculate the after-tax equilibrium? Because we need both for these problems.
I tried to. I wasn't sure what quantity to do that with. I was comparing it, like I opened Ignithium and I tried to practice with the problem that was on the website so that I could see if my answer was right, and I wasn't getting the right answer. So
yeah, well, that's always a good
idea.
That's always a good idea to do before you get to class. You know, the idea is between Tuesday and Thursday, you guys will work on these, and then you'll be able to follow up with questions. So by the time it's time to hand in the homework, you got it handled. But so I think and what about you, Josh? Do you understand what we're talking about now? Are you okay?
My issue, I think, is the same as Arslan's. I was able to get the equilibrium, but then I went to try to get the after-tax equilibrium. I kind of got caught up.
Well, okay. So let's talk a little bit about that. And I think you all see that it's pretty simple. So we have supply, and a lot of times these are labeled like supply 0, like for the initial supply. And this is just a shifted supply curve, right? So actually I wanted to keep that one red. And I'll go up here and make this one orange. The shifted supply curve, that's the intersection between that and the demand curve is what gives us our after-tax equilibrium, right? So that is S0 plus the tax, right? You notice, I mean, hopefully you notice, you see this, Arslan? So
yep.
We start out with this vertical intercept and we move to that vertical intercept. The only difference between the supply curve and the shifted supply curve is the vertical intercept. And so you should be able to see that based on the value of the tax, that maybe I want to get that little stamp out of there. Maybe I'll just highlight this instead. Well, I'll do it with this. The value of the tax, right? We can, right, construct a new supply curve equation, right?
Yeah, I'm following you. So if you're adding the tax to the vertical intercept, it should be PV equals 10 plus 2 QV.
Yeah, exactly. Right. There's no other way based on, the information that you have just with demand, the inverse demand and the inverse supply equation. Remember, those are our technical terms. We call them demand and supply, but they're the inverse demand and inverse supply equations, that we could possibly calculate that point.
Yeah, that's where I was running into trouble.
Yeah.
When you're explaining it, it's very obvious what to do now. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's as if for this part of the problem, that doesn't exist anymore. Right? It's just like a new demand and new supply equation. Right? So, okay. Does anybody else have any questions about their number, like 6, 7, or 8. So hopefully, since you guys were the beginning question, the other folks have benefited from our discussion. but yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. Anybody? Okay, so why don't you and Joshua go ahead and work on that? And who's our number 6 group?
I'm part of it.
Who is this?
Mike Barbe.
Yeah, so Mike Barbe. So you prefer that over Barbie? Okay. Everybody pronounces their own last name. You know, a lot of people pronounce my last name Hunter, and it's Hunter. So there's a T in there. But you know, coaches and things like that. So who's your partner, Mr. Barbe?
I don't recall.
Okay. Who's the partner? Don't make me go down the list. Okay, let's see. So Christy, which one were you doing? We had Christy Devara. For some reason, I think, and Emilio.
I was doing number 8, Professor.
Is Emilio?
Number 7.
Okay. And let's see. And I know Miles was 8.
Oh, I was 7.
Oh, you were 7. So we're looking for.
It's hopefully 7 because that's the one.
Okay. I have to write you guys down in your assignment. Okay. Okay, so Michael, let's talk to you for. Oh, and then I have Newtonicha. She was on the list too. So Michael Barbe. So do you have any questions? Are you good?
I feel like I'm good. But
Okay.
it's not a good feeling.
Well, okay. Do you want to explain why?
Because I felt like it was too easy, or how I came to my answer was too easy.
Did you check your answer on Ignition? Like with one of those problems?
No, I didn't.
Well, maybe you want to do that for a minute while we wait and come back to you, okay? Because like Arslan, you know, he had the same sort of thing where it just didn't work out for him. But remember, you're going to have to. Everybody here has to solve for the before tax and the after tax equilibrium. So if you haven't done that, you can't do it. Maybe you already did, but that's just a heads up. You know, if you don't have 2 systems of simultaneous equations, you didn't get the answer, almost surely. So, and who's our group for number 7?
Me.
Yeah, I
Okay.
also did number 7.
Okay, so is me Devara?
Yeah.
Okay. So what about you? How are you doing?
So I found both equilibriums, and then I was just wondering, like, if the buyer's tax burden is just subtracting the price from both equilibriums, or.
Well, okay, so that's a good thing for us to talk about. And so I'm not gonna show. If you want, you can go check on Ignition and work through something else, and we'll come back in just a minute. But think about it. Okay.
Okay.
And who was your partner?
Miles.
It was Miles.
Miles. And Miles, how do you feel? Are you?
I think I got the answer. Not like 100% sure though.
Okay. And you guys, I think you can chat with each other, like do private chat, right? I don't think I turned that
Oh
off.
wait, Professor, I actually had a question. You say to check our answers through Ignithium, but how do we do that? Because won't our
Well, yeah.
numbers
So,
be different?
So what I meant is obviously you would have to like quickly solve another example based on the one that you pull up. Yeah, your numbers will be different. But you can do that.
Can you check my answer? Do you want my answer?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Because we have to do this is part show and part demonstration. So we have to, keep the flow of our show going. We need the big reveal, right? So we have to do that all at the same time. But you and Devara could private chat with each other and talk about the answers. So you should do that with your partner if you have a question. That's totally a good idea. And then, so I know I had Nitanicha. Were you doing 8?
Yes.
And who was your partner?
It was me, Professor Emilio.
Okay, Emilio. Yeah. How are you two doing?
I've got an answer for mine already.
Okay, and so maybe you can private chat with Nitanicha and see if you all agree. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I'll give you guys just about like 1 more minute, and then we should try to wrap this up. Okay. Okay, Arslan, how are you doing?
Good, I'm done.
Okay, and your partner was
Josh, I think.
Josh.
Yeah, Josh. I'm
How
done
are you
too.
doing, Josh? You're done. Okay, that's good. So, okay, how much do buyers pay for the good, Josh?
I got 23.67.
And what about you, Arslan?
Same thing, yeah.
Okay, so that's good. At least, though I have to say, remember that science, and we're supposed to be doing science here, right, is not a democracy. So even if you guys agree, it may be a good sign, but it's, you know, not definitive. But so, okay, let's put a little bit of meat on the bone. Well, I suppose, yeah. And let's go ahead and see. So what did you get for the competitive market equilibrium price, Arslan?
For the price, I got, well, it should be 23.7, right? Or 23.67. Oh no, sorry. Here, it would be 10.
Just 10. Even, yeah.
That would be the vertical intercept, right?
No.
Oh,
Yeah,
the equilibrium price.
Yeah.
That would be 23.7, right?
Yeah.
Competitive
Okay.
market. No, I'm tripping. Okay, 19.7. That's it.
Okay.
Final answer.
Okay. Equals 19.7.
The coffee is sitting next to me. Don't worry.
19 though. Yeah, mine too. $19.70. And Josh, so the after tax equilibrium price should be up here. And what did you get for that one?
The after-tax equilibrium, yes?
Yeah.
23.67.
Okay. 23.67. Okay. Now I'm going to label that hopefully, helpfully, as being PB for the buyer's after-tax price. And so let's go ahead and I will see. This is the hint from Ignatium.
Hey, Professor.
Oh, yeah, just a second.
Yeah.
So I'm clapping right now for Arslan and Josh, because that's what you guys put down, right? Buyers after tax prices. 23.67, they say 23.68. It's close, right? Enough.
Yep.
Okay. So who was asking a question? Somebody interrupted really quickly. Who's me?
Mike Barbe.
Okay, Mike.
I was just wondering how they got that 23.67. That's what I was going to ask. If you can go into detail with it.
Yeah. Well, I'll. Do you remember what Arslan said at the beginning, right? So here, and I can go ahead and I'll just take this question 5 and hopefully I can copy it. Okay. Okay. So you see all the information we have here. I'm gonna go ahead and strip it down a little bit. There's one system of equations, demand and supply. So that'll give us the original equilibrium, right, Mike?
Yes.
So
yes.
yeah, okay. So you're good with that. And the only difference is I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the tax, because over here we don't need it. And I'll just say before tax. We solve those two. And over here, remember, we shifted the supply curve up by the amount of the tax, right, Mike?
Yes.
And we said that just affects the equilibrium. I mean, the intercept, sorry. So I go from 4 plus 6 is 10.
Oh, got it. Okay, that's the step that I missed. Would it also change the intercept on the buyer side equation?
Well, okay. So this is one of the things I'll tell you, and it's a good question, right? You're gonna have to watch all the videos. We don't really have enough time to talk about it. I'll give you a quick answer, and it may not make much sense to you, but if you watch all the videos that are about tax stuff that are on Ignithium, which you should be doing anyway for this week, then you know, a light bulb should pop on about that. But it turns out we had a tax equal to 6, right? If you look at these equations, so this is just pure math. So Mike, how like are you like, is your math, are you like, oh, I'm a math beast, or are you kind of like
No, I'm not a math beast. I'm kind of just right in the middle.
Yeah. Well, guess what? You're an applied math discipline. So it's time to become a math beast. You know, if you look at these two equations, right? And if you think about how you solve them, so this is going to be, so let's just go back to the before tax, right? It's going to be, I set these equal to each other, right? And I'm going to get, the result is going to be 51 minus 4 divided by 4 plus 2. That's going to give me my equilibrium quantity. And then I substitute it back into either one of them to get the equilibrium price. You should do that like 50 times. I know it's a lot of work, but guess what? Are you with me, Mike?
Yes, I am.
You know why it's worth it to go through all that work?
Just thinking that it just conditions me into
Well, yeah, and guess what? You're going to be a killer economist, and you're going to make tons of money. Because, I mean, you know what the most popular major is on our campus?
I'm gonna have to guess like engineering.
Well, no. If you just count bodies, it's the comm major, communications.
Oh, okay.
And you know what? Their classes are so much fun. One time I saw a bunch of comm majors, and I was jealous. I was walking to this class actually on campus, and they were in the quad, and they were playing Duck, Duck, Goose. You ever played Duck, Duck, Goose when you were a kid?
Sure did.
Yeah, but guess what? We don't play Duck, Duck, Goose. But guess what the average earnings in economics is versus comm?
I don't know the exact numbers, but I'm guessing you're alluding
Yeah,
to.
yeah, like our mid-career salary is roughly twice what theirs is. So, you know, I mean, you know, yeah, we got to know stuff, but you know, the market compensates us for that. We got to be good at it. So here, if you look at these two equations, right, it's going to be 51 minus 10 divided by 4 plus 2 for the equilibrium quantity, right? If I lower this number by 6, or, well, we'll go back over here. If I lower this number by 6, or I raise this number by 6, I'm going to end up getting the same system of equations over here, right? I could change this one back to 4 and this one to 45, and I'm going to get the exact same thing, which is going to be 41 divided by 6, right? So the point that I'm making is that honestly, it doesn't matter if I add the tax over here or I subtract it from the demand intercept or I add it to the supply intercept. That's all I can tell you. You have to watch the videos to kind of, if you want to be walked through the intuition, but mathematically, but if I add all the tax over to, this is to answer your question more specifically, if I add all the tax over on supply, I don't have to do anything to demand, right? It's only going to go on one of these. Does that help?
It does.
Okay, good. So we did number 5, and so now we're on to number 6, and this says how much do sellers receive for the good? And who's our team for number 6 again? Is that, are you that, Mike, or no?
Yeah, that's why I asked.
Yeah. So do you have the seller's after tax price? And I don't remember who your partner was.
I don't remember who it was, but the seller's after tax price, I can get it in a few.
In a jiffy. Well, actually, it's here already. Okay, so if buyers pay $23.67, right? And remember, the length of this tax wedge is exactly $6 because that's how much the tax is, right? Are you with me, Mike?
Yeah.
If you plunk down $23.67 at Target and $6 of that goes to the government, how much goes to
1767?
Yeah. See, it's just as simple as that. So a lot of times, and again, if you go through the videos in detail, then you can write it like this, you know, that the seller's after-tax price is equal to the buyer's after-tax price minus the tax. Simple. So let's go ahead and put that in the diagram. And PV is equal to 17.67. And for kind of a sanity check, I'll show you. This is the Ignithium answer. Okay. So you see again, there's a rounding error, but it's really tiny. So yeah, anyway, it's close enough. So good job, Mike. And let's see. So who's our number 17?
Devara.
Okay, Devara. And Emilio or
Miles.
Miles. Okay, Miles. So what did you guys get for this one?
I got 3.97.
Okay, so and what about you?
I got 37.98.
Okay, there's a big difference. So you see our diagram so far, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is the buyer's tax burden? Well, this should tell you one thing right off the bat, Miles, is that if there's $6 in tax, the burden refers to a share of that that the buyer is going to experience. So the tax burden couldn't be like 37, right?
Yeah, okay. I thought it was weird, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
just
It's so weird. It's just like weird. Yeah, right. It's super weird. But I'll tell you what. So maybe this will help. And I'm assuming Devara has the right answer. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of these little marks. Oh, I want to get rid of that, but oh well. Let me put my supply curve back. Okay. And just to move it a little bit. Okay, that looks good-ish. So here's where, notice everybody that after I get finished finding the after-tax equilibrium, I don't need the shifted supply curve in my diagram anymore. The shifted supply curve only really serves one purpose, which is to find the after-tax equilibrium. After that, it's just cluttering the diagram. We just want to know where to put the tax wedge in our diagram. So notice what I do next, and this should make good sense, especially to you, Devara, at this point. And let me try to balance these things out so they are approximately where they need to be on the diagram. So notice that I'm going to draw a line here to the buyer's after-tax price, and I'm going to draw a line here to the seller's after-tax price, right? And then I'm going to draw another line, and this is to the equilibrium price. So are you with us, Miles?
Yeah, I got this.
Okay, but notice how the original equilibrium, competitive market equilibrium price divides the tax wedge. Remember the length of the tax wedge line. This is 6 units, right? Or you agree or you don't agree? Miles? How about you, Devara? Did I go offline?
No, I
I'm
hear
just I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm just confused. Like, should I subtract it by the price equilibrium or the 17.67?
Well, I'll tell you what, let's work through this a little bit, right?
Okay.
You are a buyer. You were paying $19.70 before the tax, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now somebody's taxed the good and you've got to pay $23.67.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so it's the 19.7.
Well, how do you feel about that? How did it affect you? Right? How much, I mean, you got to take an extra, basically, almost like $4, right? Like $4.03. And you got to pay an extra $4.03 every time you go to Target because they taxed it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we mean by your burden, right? It costs you more money. Does it cost you $6 more?
No.
No. And so are you good, 2 miles?
Yeah, okay, I get it now.
Yeah. So okay, so your final answer, Miles, is how much is the buyer's tax burden?
Wait, it's just the difference between PB and P.
Well, you tell me, Miles. You're a buyer, and you were
Because
paying.
I did it wrong because I calculated it as like an area. So I like
Yeah.
multiplied that difference by the quantity.
Yeah,
So
and why did you do that? Why, Miles? Why?
I don't know. I didn't really have an explanation. I was just used to finding the area.
Yeah, well, you gotta think. See here, again, each one of these concepts that we introduce attaches to some mathematical object. Sometimes those mathematical objects are areas, and sometimes they're other things. So you have to know, right? But here, what we mean is what increase in price does the buyer experience as a result of the tax? That's what the buyer's tax burden is.
So the answer is PB minus P, right?
Yeah, minus P star. Yeah. So what did you get, Devara? What's your final answer?
3.97.
Okay. And this is the one from Ignithium.
Yeah.
If I put that into Ignithium, it would score it correct. It's off a tiny bit. Rounding error issues. But yeah. And let's see, what about who's our number 8 group? Are you okay, Miles? I'm assuming you're good.
Yeah, yes, sir. Sorry, I'm trying to fight off my muddy dog again while learning.
A muddy dog. I got a dog next to
Yeah,
me.
my brother decided to let him out, get him all dirty, then let him back in. He's just rampaging the house.
Is it an older brother or a younger brother?
Younger brother.
Okay, sorry. But anyway, so you have to deal with your brother. So and so our group for 8. So I know Nutadicha was one of them, and who was the other?
It was Emilio.
Emilio. Okay, so where are you all at?
Yeah, I got an answer for mine already.
Okay. So what did you get?
I got
Emilio?
2.
What about you, Nutadicha?
2.03.
2.03. Okay. And I mean, you all can see that you are right within rounding error. I'll show you the Ignithium answer just to 2.02. Right. But again, notice, okay, 2.02 plus 4 is 6.02, and the tax is only 6. So, there's a rounding error issue that's creeping in because of the numbers that we have in this example. If we were to carry it out to the 4th or 5th decimal place, everything would line up perfectly. But yeah, but it's pretty obvious, right? Out of the $6 tax, the buyers are experiencing a $4 increase in the amount they pay, and sellers are suffering a decrease in the amount that they receive from the transaction of $2. So you all got it right. Here's a clap for everybody. And I will tell you that on these questions, and I'll try to circle it on these questions, if you don't, for all of them, if you don't have a diagram like this, which this type of diagram without the shifted supply curve is called a tax wedge diagram. If you don't have a tax wedge diagram, you won't be able to solve the problems. So all of the rest of the problems are going to relate to areas or distances that you'll be able to see on your tax wedge diagram. So when you first start solving these problems, in the first couple of ones, you should flesh out the details of your tax wedge diagram. And then, go ahead and identify the areas and things like that. So I'll ask, does anybody have any final questions? We're a little bit over time, but that's okay.
Yes, Professor. Just really quickly, like, I just want to make sure I have like this all covered. So if the seller is incurring like the tax, then we're gonna subtract that from the demand function, correct? Because they're gonna want less.
Well, no. So actually, how did we handle it here? Do you remember?
Because this was number 8, correct?
Well, it doesn't matter which number it is. All of these say the same thing, right? They just ask different questions. They say, this is demand and supply with a specific tax of this, right? So that's all the information that you need. I say this again in the online lectures. I'll mention it one other time here. I always, it's 3 alwayses. I always just add the tax to the seller's intercept. I always shift the supply curve. And I do that because it makes more sense to me to model the tax as, you remember, the seller's supply curve is their cost curve, right? So I think of a tax as being a government transaction cost of production. So yeah, you normally have other costs, right, that'll determine your supply, like your cost of labor or your cost of materials or your cost of whatever. Well, now you have to pay an additional cost to the government. So that's why you see my tax wedge diagram is an arrow. Remember, we shifted the supply curve up by the amount of the tax. I always do that. Now, as I explained earlier, mathematically, it's equivalent to reduce the demand curve, but that doesn't intuitively make any sense to me. Mathematically, it's fine. But, what is a tax? Right?
Yes, I see.
I mean, think about it. Almost all the taxes that we pay have a single justification. And what is that?
Like to pay the government?
Yeah, and what are you paying the government for?
Like roads and different things?
Yeah, right. So yeah, exactly. Roads, bridges, infrastructure, all that other stuff that actually, does help, right? Get your trucks from the warehouse to your retail store, or get your workers to work in the morning. So there are these other costs that society has, and the way that we share those costs among people in society is we tax. So it's a cost. So that's the way that I think about taxes, and intuitively it makes sense to me. If you want to, and I'm not saying other people don't do this, and again, if you really want to understand this stuff well, you should watch the videos carefully, because I talk about it, but if you really want to understand this stuff well, go through those videos. There are arguments that people can make about why shifting the demand curve instead of the supply curve might be a better way to do things. I for the most part, just don't find those persuasive. I'm not saying they're nonsensical. It's just you know, it seems like a poor explanation relative to the one that I just gave you, which is, yeah, the way we share the additional costs of production that are paid through our government is we tax stuff. So, you know, add it on the supply curve, and it sort of reinforces the idea of what you're eventually going to learn more about in just a couple of weeks, which is the supply curve is the cost curve for production. And the sooner you make that connection, the better off you'll be, because you know, we interpret costs from producers in lots of different contexts and relate them to supply decisions. Anyway, so hopefully, any other final questions?
Yeah, Professor, my question has to do with the homework and how you want us to show work for problems that are, we'll just say like problems that are repetitive using the same curve, same graph. How do you want us to show work across